is Vila and I am currently doing my master's in childhood education. This video will give you a glimpse of how I observe differentiated instruction based on my observations. My observation took place in a second grade public school in Maspeth, Queens. Maspeth is a middle-class neighborhood. The classroom consisted of 19 children of all mixed ethnicities and 2 teachers, 1 general education teacher and 1 special education teacher, with 1 paraprofessional. This was the first time I was exposed to an inclusion class, and I was quite surprised by how warm the atmosphere was. When I always thought of special education, I always thought the disabilities were quite evident, either physically or mentally. I quickly learned that I was wrong. If I was just thrown into this classroom without knowing there were special need children, I would have never known that there were. It was not until the teacher pointed the students out that I then realized who they were. This is what I think made the class stand out. Everyone worked beautifully together in a whole group discussion, group, or individual work. The students were assessed at the beginning of every unit to see where they needed more support and help. Then they were assessed after every lesson to monitor progress, and of course they were assessed at the end of the unit. Instructional groups were not based on IEPs, therefore special need children were not always grouped together. The groups were formed based on your knowledge for the specific lesson of the day. For most lessons, according to the assessment, they then were placed into 2 different instructing groups, which is called alternative teaching. Alternative teaching is when one teacher takes responsibility for the large group, while the other teacher works with a smaller group where students need more specialized attention. One group, the larger group, was for students that were average or above average. They would sit on one carpet. And the other group was for the few students that were falling behind and needed more instruction and guidance. They would sit on a different carpet for their instruction. Some days the 10-minute lessons were instructed by one teacher on one carpet, uniting the whole class. It just depended on the material being presented. The lessons were then followed with independent work to be done in their seats using the graphic organizers the teachers made themselves to benefit and make sure all students reach their goal. Meaning, an English language learner, for example, would have the opportunity to choose a graphic organizer that asked for fewer examples. Once the work was done, they had an extension and an exit slip to fill out to show that they have learned for what they have learned for that specific lesson. When I asked the teacher why the curriculum journeys was not fully being used, she answered, the questions asked, for example, to find the main idea, did not really achieve the goal for the lesson, which is to find the main idea. Also, by creating our own discussion and handouts, we are diversifying the material to reach each student individually. I experienced how teachers pour their heart and soul into meetings twice a week where they use peer modeling to create bundles. The bundles consist of their own lessons based on the Common Core standards and their own graphic organizers for individual work that the teachers believe will benefit to each and every single student individually. This is diversified material at its best. The goal of this public school in every lesson is for each student to reach. Reach means real-world connection, engagement, analysis, confidence, and higher-order thinking. Teachers did everything expected to be done with special education. There was a constant repetition of words, passages, or concepts. Visuals were always handed out for new vocabulary as well as individually clipped onto the word wall so that each student could use the word in future writing and be accountable for the spelling. Turn and tell a partner was used often in class discussions. Even implementation of the smartboard was used often for tactile, auditory, and visual learners, as well as fun activities for group work for the kinesthetic learners. But overall, what I found most impressive and going the extra mile for the student success is creating their own bundles. Each graphic organizer was created that each student would produce work that was within the reach for him and her. This allowed for each student to participate without getting frustrated that the handout was too hard or too easy. Each student was able to succeed after every lesson because of the individualized attention given by the teacher and by the individualized graphic organizer. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for listening.